In today's review, guys, we shall be taking a look at the 2006 movie The Departed. So without further ado then, let's get into today's review. So I thought that this movie was phenomenal. I thought this movie delivered. I thought Scorsese did it again and made an absolute banger of a movie, as he mixed his ideas up with this mind-bogglingness in this movie that absolutely messes with your mind, and at the end of the movie you're thinking, oh my god, I did not expect that, but it is so simple. The things were there for you to see of how that ending was going to come about. But before we get to the ending, I just want to talk about the star-studded cast and how good were they? They were mint. And how many times have I said, this movie feels overcrowded, this movie feels like there's too many big names in this movie, and that it didn't work, like Planet 51 for instance. This goes, nah, these guys are all going to work together, okay? And it just feels mint. It's got the best actors and actresses you can imagine in Hollywood in this movie, and they're acting their absolute hearts out in these roles that they're playing, especially Leo and Matt Damon. Oh, and yeah, I said those two were in the same movie. That sounds insane, but it's true. As we also saw the likes of Mark Wahlberg, we saw the likes of Jack Nicholson, just to name a few. We saw Kevin Corrigan, we saw Alec Baldwin, Vera Farmiga, we saw Anthony Anderson. They're just to name a few people which were in this movie. There's probably more that you could skim through and go, oh, I've seen him in something, I've seen him in something. Because that's what I was doing the first time I watched this movie. I was like, I know that guy from something, I know that guy from something, I know that guy from something. And it's like, these are so big names in this movie that you just cannot avoid their success. And that's why this movie was a success, because of all these people which have had their time to shine in different roles, and most of them even being headlining their own movies. However, this time, these people are all just going, yep, I'll play a side character, but it's going to be an impactful side character. And everybody had a role to fill. And I think that was the magic of this movie. That was Scorsese for you, finding a role for everybody and for making this work. Is it wasn't an easy job, especially with the plot being as it was. A bit of a confusing one at the start, not knowing if you're cheering the good guy or the bad guy, not knowing really who is the good guy or the bad guy, because you're seeing it at first, maybe it's like a Goodfellas where you're cheering on the bad guys, where we're seeing Matt Damon's character be introduced as a kid to the Costello family and Costello, and we see him growing up with that and then getting into cop system. We know he's probably a corrupt copper at this point, but we don't know if we're cheering him. We don't know if there's a next character that's coming in. Then that's where we see Leo doing the same thing, going through the police academy and things like that. But Leo's character has a really bad criminal record, and Matt Damon is the complete opposite. On record, he's got the best degrees. He's like an A-star student in everything. He's worked his ass off to get into the position. That's what it says on his record. That's what it says on his record. And we're thinking, oh, Leo's the bad guy because he's the one with the bad criminal record coming in as a police officer. However, that's not the case at all, as we see that Costello has actually assigned Matt Damon's character to be more of a person in his organisation, being sort of a rat in the inside of in the cop house. And the opposite is with Leo, as Leo has been assigned because the sergeants and people there, the detectives, don't think he would make a good copper, and that in fact he would make a good undercover copper with his background and his reputation. So that's why he's assigned to go into Costello's group and try to work his way up into a position of some sort of power and influence so he can get close to Costello and Jack Nicholson's character. And I think that really worked. And I think that part of the story, it was like you don't necessarily know who to cheer, and their stories are crossing over several times, but they don't realise it until obviously a few things happen on both sides, like Queenan getting killed. However, when Costello has been turned on by Matt Damon, we see that Matt Damon is taking those responsibilities as the main villain, and we could see that coming a long way as we saw this coming probably from the very beginning, as he was very smart and sometimes questioned Costello in a different way, but was just told, just get on with it, do what I say, not don't lay low or whatever, and that obviously leads to him being on top. And then he wants to try to turn on Billy, Leo's character, because he invites him in. He says, come back, because they kept away the undercover, who was the undercover, for quite a long time, and he was desperate, and I mean desperate, to find out who this rat was in Costello's agency. And soon as he invites him in and goes, oh, it's you, blah blah blah, he goes, yeah, I'll get your money sorted and then you can be on your way, whatever. We see him trying to turn on Leo's character by using a different computer and finding out more about him after finding out what his password and shit is, as Queen and thing kept this from everybody else and was like a secret thing, because they knew that there was a rat in the police station as well, which is obviously Matt Damon's character, which we're talking about now. And this obviously leads to Leo getting a bit panicky and finding this envelope that he had in his time with Costello, as he crossed out something on this envelope and put citizen on it. And yeah, that was then found on the desk of Matt Damon, and he gets panicky. He runs out, and then eventually Matt Damon wants to chat again with him, so they meet on top of this roof and then find out, yep, we're going to do this, do that. And Leo gets Matt Damon and thinks, yeah, we've got him. They're going to arrest him because Leo's got all these files on Matt Damon's character, Colin. However, when he gets in the elevator, goes downstairs, he gets shot in the head, and then that is it. You think this is all over for the heroic side of things. However, this is where the best part happens, in my personal opinion, and that's the ending, as it is such a plot twist, because you forget all about Mark Wahlberg exists, because we knew that Queenan gets killed off by the Costello people after Matt Damon put a hit on Queenan. And yeah, this is the best fucking part. This is the meat, what you've been waiting for, and this is the plot twist of a plot twist, because you think that he's gotten away with it. He goes back to this apartment and then finds Mark Wahlberg standing in there with all these whites on, a zip-up, like, forensic costume, shoots him, and then bosh, he's dead. The movie ends with Mark Wahlberg finally getting the last thing, and it's just an amazing plot. And if you haven't seen it, I haven't even touched the surface of anything there. The final thing I want to mention on this review, Billy's character development, and I think it's a great bit of character development in this movie, as we see him at the start of the movie being treated like a bit of a scumbag, bit of a knobhead because of his criminal record. However, he soon proves his worth when he's in the undercover agency types of things, but we see the effect this has on Billy. He really didn't want to do this undercover stuff. He'd done with the badness. He just wanted to become a cop and fight for the good. And instead he gets put back in with the bad people. And he soon got to find out about Costello and things like this. And he's always looking over his shoulder. And that's what he says to Vera Farmiga's character, who is sort of like a therapist as such, and a doctor of like therapy and things like that. And he goes to her, to tell her to give him some medicines and shit to help him get through with what he's going through. And obviously she doesn't know any of the actual details. She just knows that he's a crook, that he's always looking over his shoulder, and that the people he's hanging around with, he's starting to become one of them. And he's frightened that he will be a crook again, and that he is, and he mentioned how his hand doesn't shake anymore, and that worries him becoming more like them. I think that little thing is just amazing, as he never wanted to be in that position, but when they put him in that position, he thrived at it, but he didn't like thriving at it, because he felt that he was always looking over his shoulder, always afraid that Costello or one of Costello's men was going to turn on him at any point. And that would obviously be frightening in any sense. Now you can sort of see what these undercover cops would be feeling like, in these types of situations, and it's not a nice situation to be in. But if you've got to do it, you've got to do it to bring down those criminals if you've not got enough evidence on them. To summarize this awesome dramatic movie, and one of the best Scorsese movies I've personally seen, that includes Goodfellas as well, I think that this is a classic film and an 8.6 out of 10. And let me know down in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this particular movie, or if you've got anything else to add, let me know down there, please. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content this channel creates. And I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.